the weekly show with David J. Maloney.
This week, David chats with director Jonathan L. Bowen.
And now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome, everyone, to the weekly show. I'm your host, David G. Maloney. On tonight's show, we've got the second part of my interview with writer-director Jonathan L. Bowen. His new film, The Comic Shop, which stars Jesse Metcalf and Tristin Mays, releases next month. Back again after the break to chat about his career and brand new film, The Comic Shop, is director Jonathan L. Bowen. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And in the film, you've got Golden Globe nominee, Academy Award nominee, Eric Roberts. And Eric is one of my favorite people. He's one of my favorite guests we've had on the show. And frankly, one of the sweetest guys I've ever met. I mean, I can't say enough kind. I just love Eric. Had you met him before? And how was it working with, he's the most credited actor in Hollywood, right? So how was it like getting the opportunity to work with him?
So I'll give you the real story, because I think he would laugh if you heard it. But so I was super excited when he came aboard, because I thought how are we going to get him? No, he's super affordable. He likes to do indie
He
films.
keeps the suitcase packed.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, that sounds amazing. So I think everyone else on set had more fun than I did, because I was so uptight, this being such an important project, that he was joking and I didn't know they were jokes. He is a really good actor. So he comes 3 hours early and says, oh, hey guys, when's my scene? I only got 15 minutes or then I got to leave. And I turned to my first AD and I was like, is he joking? He's here 3 hours early. We have a whole nother scene to film. And then my AD's relax. He's just joking. And I was like, okay, well, I hope he is, and I'm getting all uptight. And then there's a couple more kind of moments like that where he would just kid with us, and they're all jokes. He does this all the time. And when I went to Reddit later, a couple other filmmakers said, oh, did he do the joke where he says he's got to leave in 15 minutes? I was like, oh my gosh, I totally fell for that, because he does that on every set, I guess. So it was so much fun in retrospect, but in the moment, my heart was racing because I didn't want to lose him,
Yeah,
so I was like, do we need to rearrange scenes and we can film him first or something like that? But I still think that what he added a lot to the movie, and it's something I want to remember for future movies as well, because here you have a scene that he's in that is written as probably one of the most boring scenes in the movie. It needs to happen. It's just a guy coming in and telling Mike that his lease is going up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really a great scene. So it's my usual instinct is keep a scene like that as short as possible, convey the information, and get out of there. But when you have an actor like Eric, he actually made it one of the funnier scenes in the movie, just by the way he delivered the lines, by his acting. And it's a scene that, I've seen the movie 100 times. I still like watching that scene because he's just such a good actor. And I thought that's really interesting. You can elevate a scene that is written to be at the bottom of the barrel, and then it actually becomes one of your favorite scenes just because you put an Oscar-nominated actor in it. Kind of interesting.
I mean, Charlie, you took my, they took my thumb is one of the most incredible scenes, that he's been in. I mean, they took my thumb. I mean, just crazy. His level of talent is remarkable. You've also got Jesse Metcalf, whom is well known for Desperate Housewives and John Tucker Must Die. How did Jesse first get attached to the lead role?
Yeah, so Jesse was kind of the linchpin of the whole thing, because when our distributor, when we were talking to them, it's we're at a budget level where they're not going to give us the money to go make it. But we had the connections to at least ask, could you give us a list of actors, though, who could help us, that you believe could help us get this money back that we're investing? And they're like, yeah, sure, So as we kind of look through the list, there were options where I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like that at all. And I'll be honest, there's two options that my producers kind of strong-armed me into making offers for, and I didn't want them. And thank God they both said no. It just was a bad fit. Like,
Yeah.
not because they're not good actors. It's just like one of them is like 62 years old. I couldn't understand that. Like, what is he going to go get a second chance at Illustrate?
Yeah, no, you could get Charlton Heston, but it ain't. But if he isn't right for the role, what does it matter?
Yeah. And so then when we got to Jesse, I thought that's kind of an intriguing idea. And I hadn't done, because we went through this process and we're all exhausted. I hadn't done all of the research because we need to make offers quickly. And so I had done just enough to be like, yeah, I think he'd be good. And then when he said yes, then it was a matter of like, okay, how excited am I? I mean, I'm excited we're making a movie. And as I started watching all his work, I thought, this guy's actually a really good actor. I was nervous at first. I thought, oh boy, I mean, Desperate Housewives, okay. Like, I mean, wasn't he known more for his body in that? And I'd seen Joan Tucker Must Die, which, he's good in, but that was a long time ago. So then as I started seeing all of his work, I thought, not all of this work he's in is good, but he's good in it. And that's what I like to see. Sort of like Nicolas Cage. I've seen some really bad Nicolas Cage movies. I still love Nicolas Cage in them. I still had fun watching them. So
he's another one like Eric that is very prolific.
Right.
So,
very prolific.
You just got to probably go make a film in New Orleans then, if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah,
exactly. That, right. So,
right.
So Tristin May's another well-known TV actress, and so you actually had a lot of real talent to work with.
Yeah.
Given you wrote the film, aside from what you already told me about what Eric did any of the actors add a line or a movement or a take which really kind of blew your mind with how perfect it was?
I mean, yeah, like that stuff definitely happens. Like I think that another one would be Carrot Top, Scotty, because he came in and like I'm glad he was on the same page because he said, "Hey, I've got an idea for the scene. I just want to improv it." And I was like, "Well, thank God because I didn't write anything." So I mean, that was my plan all along. It was like, "Oh, we got Carrot Top," like, and I think we're all thinking along the same lines. I thought, well, he's a customer. I think he's a regular customer. I think he comes in, from time to time, and Mike's like his hookup. And so Carrot Top had pretty much the same idea, but like he knew where he wanted to go with it. And they just cracked us up. Like the hardest part of that scene was like just trying to stifle the laughter while they're rolling because Jesse and him they just went back and forth. And the first take was so funny, but it was like F this, F that, F the other thing. And right away, one of the producers starts like almost jogging towards me, going, get a safety take, we got it. And I was like, oh, but it was so funny though. And he's like, yeah, but you never know where the movie goes. We can't have like 16 F-bombs in one scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right. We'll get some more that are safer. So that was ones that come to mind. Tristin and Jesse had one that I remember we almost left it in. It was like one of those things where it should have been an outtake, but it was so good that it stayed in the cut until probably like the last maybe 3 or 4 revisions. And I still am like, I'm kind of sad about it. It makes sense. It keeps the movie moving. But it was like she gives him a cliche and then he kind of like says something, then she gives him another, and she kept going. She had like 4 of these things. It was like grass is always greener, blah, 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 every single thing like this. And I didn't yell cut because I just want to see how many she can come up with.
See how it plays out. And you never know. You get a happy accident, right?
Yeah. And so we left that for a while because it was just super funny. And that's part of Alex's character is that I don't know why I've always thought this is funny. Like I thought it was funny 20 years ago, but I like the idea of, critics always complain about cliches, but people use them. Like actual people talk, and I see it all the time. They throw these like, useless tautologies at you or whatever. So I thought, how funny would it be to have a character who just almost speaks in cliches a lot? Like that's basically her wisdom base. And of course I have to have a character pointed out like, oh yeah, okay, another one of these, so they don't think the writer is just an idiot. It's intentional, but I thought that would be a funny part of her character. And so for her to expound upon that and then just throw us one after another was pretty hilarious.
So, you mentioned Carrot Top earlier. How did he end up becoming associated with the film?
Yeah, I think that if I'm remembering right, I think that the casting director knew his manager or something like that. Although it could have also, we had a local producer, it might have been through that as well. But I was kind of excited about it because I want to find a way to make it so that we're not just shooting this movie in Vegas just because I live here. I want it to feel like it is still part of the fabric. And there was a couple scenes to accomplish that, like a character wanting to, come to a signing at Mike's, mainly because he likes Vegas and he wants to gamble. And so with Carrot Top, I thought, well, that would be perfect. Like he's a local and maybe he's a comic buff and we don't know it. And so he comes into Mike's store and I thought that I like that. That's kind of Vegasy where it's like, hey, you never know who might walk into
Yeah.
the store today. It could be a magician, it could be Carrot Top.
Yeah.
Chris Angel might be here next week. Who knows?
Yep.
So he was really, and gosh, he was so nice. I don't know. I think that I felt like in the past I'd made fun of Carrot Top. I really think that, because it was like one of those things. I saw him in this commercial over and over again. And I was like, oh my gosh, not this commercial. And I felt so bad about that, like after working with him, because he's like absolutely the nicest guy. I had to even ask him, I said, I'm sorry, like, but here's the thing is it's the last day we're filming at this location. And I know we should have got it before, but we kept running out of time. I need to get a sunset shot over the parking lot. It's just going to take like 10 minutes. Do you mind waiting for us to do that? And he's like, oh, no, not at all. He's like, I know how filmmaking works. Like, yeah, take your time.
He's no rookie.
Yeah, it was really neat. And I just thought it was so sweet in a way because it's not like we paid him much. And this is a guy worth like $70 million because he still has a top show in the strip. He doesn't need to do this. Like he does it only for fun. It's not like, oh, Carrot Top is desperate for a couple $100,
Yeah.
So that always makes you think that somebody is just like on the same wavelength to me. Like they want to go and play. They want to have fun. They want to be involved in something creative. And so I just thought that was so neat. And I ran into him a couple months after shooting actually at this nice Italian restaurant. And he was just as nice, just at first though, he kind of gives me this like, who is this person? I was like, Jonathan from the comic shop. And then he's like, oh yeah, how's it going? How's the movie? And it was really funny. But
Well, I mean, you meet so many people, especially when you've got a Vegas show or whatever, and so many faces and matching faces with names, and especially if it was somebody you only worked with for an hour or two, and he's probably worked with, what I mean? I get it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you're right. I mean, it was a couple hours on set tops. I can't really expect he would remember.
Yeah. And there's 5 other people on the set there too that he's got to remember. So are there, you were talking about themes. We were talking about themes earlier. Themes. Any special themes? And I already know probably that's why I'm asking the question. Any special themes you hope come through for people coming away from this film?
Yeah. So I think the one that people are going to take on the surface level is something like, chase your dreams, don't give up on your dreams. There's a lot of movies like that. I think that's you're getting close, but I think the theme is more that you've got to find a way to feed your soul, right? You've got to like, if you have like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's not enough to just make a living. It just is like, it's somewhere you have to get to. But once you kind of get to that point, then like, what is your life really about? Like what makes you feel passionate? When you get up in the morning, what are you excited about? And Mike's not excited about anything. Maybe going to the bar and grabbing a couple of beers, which is really not, it's a pretty base level of thinking. So what I want people to be thinking about is sort of like, what is it for you that maybe you have given up because life happens and you're busy and you've got all these other responsibilities? How can you reconnect with that passion that you have? And it could be anything. It could be like just taking a few hours on a Saturday to write your novel that you imagined or play your musical instrument. And it doesn't have to be like Mike, it doesn't have to be like a career switch. It's just finding a way to like get in touch with that passionate part that makes you feel most alive. And that's what I would really want people to take out of it. Not drop, don't quit your day job and go think you're going to join, a rock band. That's probably not very good advice.
Well, and the idea of reigniting a fire to create definitely came through for me. I was originally going to ask you kind of the cliche question about, if there's one filming memory that you're going to take away from this shoot. But I kind of want to change that up a little bit and ask you, since this is kind of also, how they say that there's a practice of medicine, there's a practice of law. There's also, to some extent, the practice of filmmaking. You learn something new or different pretty much with every shoot. Was there something with regard to the shooting of this film, that you picked up something that you went, wow, this is something that's going to be invaluable to me for the rest of my career? Was there something new that you learned on the shoot that you went, oh, wow, that's kind of cool? Was it maybe something from an actor or something from a lighting perspective or some other perspective?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's so much, and like my mind is more like where I am right now, where it's like I don't know that this. So you asked that, it's like I don't know if this knowledge that I feel I've gained is actually going to help me in the future, or if I just pass it on to somebody else. Because I start thinking as we're here promoting the comic shop, and I see that like there's all these geek culture websites and comic websites that are interested. They're excited about the movie. Then it made me totally rethink what I thought before, where I was so focused on the script and is it a good script? Am I telling a good story? And now I think that if I had things to do over, I would always think first to the last thing. Like if I make this movie, what media is it going to be promoted in? Where am I trying uh, to find my audience? Like, and I know they always say, "Who's your audience?" As filmmakers, I think we get a little cocky and be like, "Well, my audience is anyone. It's just a good movie," and it's like
It's my art. It's my art.
and it's like that's not true. Every movie has an audience to an extent. So I think that would have been so valuable for me to realize that, like, before you go and write a movie and then put all this work into making it, really visualize, picture promoting it. Who are you promoting to? What outlets are interested in it? Like, and if you start identifying that, then it influences like the kind of story you want to tell. That isn't to say, oh, make a movie for commercial reasons, but no, make sure you have somebody you're actually making the movie for. Like, that at least you're gonna do something that resonates in some way. Um, and then I think other things that I've realized are like, I think it was different for me working with actors who were like obviously above my level. That was new because I don't really feel like I'd done that. I mean, I worked with Lachlan Monroe and Amy Allison fans, but he was just absolutely the nicest, most gentle guy and really doing us a favor. And there's those things where it's like, look, I liked Jesse's energy and attitude. Like he was in this role and he did a great job, but it's intimidating at first. It's hard like to hold your ground where you're like, no, this is how this is. I wrote it. This is how it's going to be, because you also don't want to make somebody unhappy. So you have to figure out when you're willing to sort of bend and to navigate those situations where you maybe say, well, okay, let's do it your way, but do you mind doing a take my way as well, just so we have it. So those are the kind of things that I think were most valuable, is like navigating, working with people who you also really look up to. It was weird for me with Tristin because I had went from just finishing like 5 seasons of MacGyver during the pandemic, seeing her as just a character, and then all of a sudden I'm like standing there talking to her. I know that it may sound funny, like any veteran director's like, well, yeah, I mean they're actors, but for me, not having done this for a long time, it was weird. It was like, this is really cool. This is surreal, but I'm talking.
It took a little bit with doing the show, I interview a lot of people, and I'm generally not fazed by celebrity, but every once in a while, you have a get and a guest, and I'm super duper duper incredibly I've got 5. There are 5 on my list that are, and I've been blessed to have 2 of them so far.
Yeah.
It'll be tough not to appear starstruck when it happens.
Right. Yeah.
But it is what it is. So speaking of audiences, what can our audience be on the lookout for in the future from you? What you got going on?
Well, that I admit that does depend on like how well this does. I mean, I hope that we're getting somewhere. At least there'll be another opportunity. But I do have a number of scripts finished. I've got another like 5, and I've got 2 of those I'm probably most interested in as far as them being reasonably budgeted, not like Comic Shop, but they're each under 10 million. I think one can be done under 5. And, so at a level that like you can do it on an indie scale still. And I'm excited about those, but I also I don't know exactly what the process might look like from here, like what doors might open up. And then I've got a couple other scripts that I haven't written, but I've started outlining. And those are actually less expensive ones as well. So, I'd be kind of interested. I guess I've always kind of wanted to do a horror film. And I've got this idea for a horror film that, is kind of based on a wellness retreat. I'm big into fitness and health. And I kind of love the idea of like lampooning the fact, these people who are like, it's great to be healthy, it's great to be fit, but where they take it to almost like a cult-like level.
Cult-like holistic level, like just way off the charts.
And that's what I want to do. Is so I've started to create this guy's almost like religion around like all this stuff, all this woo-woo stuff, whether it's like astrology or like the star children or stars, all this stuff. Because I think it would be really funny to have people where it's like somewhere along the line, like this started good. They were doing this to be healthy and it went off the rails. And now it's like we sacrifice people for our health,
Yes, that's that. Well, after the interview is over, I'll tell you an interesting kind of story on that thing. So, are there any socials where our audience can follow you, your work, the film, what have you?
Yeah, so I have at Director Bowen on Instagram, and then just to keep it easy, I've also got directorbowen.com. And I try to post there really regularly, like any sort of media appearance or something I found interesting. Like Comic Shop got mentioned in Eric Roberts' book. So I had to post about that because I was like, yes, that's so cool. So that's where I try to keep, if anybody wants to follow that, they would know like what's going on.
Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Bowen. That's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to director Jonathan L. Bowen for joining us. Stay safe, everyone.